Matt and Leah, 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 Matt and Leah. Matt and Leah, Matt and Leah, Matt and Leah, Matt and Leah. Matt and Leah, Matt and Leah, Matt and Leah, Matt and Leah. A pancake!
What is up, boys and girls, and everything in between? This is Bear With Us. I am Matt. She is Leah. Leah, how are you, my dear?
I'm cold.
Well, considering you literally just took
I know,
your jacket
but
off
I
while the
feel like
intro
I'm
was
an
playing.
abominable snowman over here, bundled up, so I just needed to feel a little more comfortable. But it's cold here in Pittsburgh.
It's not really cold.
It's
I mean, it
60.
is fall.
I know.
It feels nice. It's fall jacket weather.
And it's officially October.
It is.
How exciting. My favorite month of the year.
Is it exciting or is it terrifying? Because
It's
it feels
amazing.
like this just began in like March, this weirdness, this pandemic, this new normal. And the year is almost over.
We'll take that out of it. Let's just think about the month of October. It's the best month of the year.
And
It's
why is
basic
that?
bitch season. Basic bitch season. Ugg boots, sweaters, hoodies, pumpkin spice, Halloween, and my birthday.
I mean, it is a pretty stacked lineup. I must
Like,
admit.
I can't think of a better month. It's the perfect time of year as far as weather goes. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. It's just right, said Goldilocks.
Oh, because of the beds or the porridge or
The chairs, the bed, the porridge. Isn't there a chair where it's like, this chair is too hard, this chair is too soft?
maybe. I
Maybe
don't
she's
know.
also talking about dicks. I don't know.
Yeah, Goldilocks, big whore.
She is.
That's what she was doing. She was gallivanting through the forest looking for some D.
She was a slut.
Wow.
We love that for her.
Just ruined an old childhood fable. I am feeling great today because I woke up super early. I got to go to the barber shop. My guy Kane took care of me. I feel human. I feel handsome. But in the midst of all this, I witnessed something that I am pretty sure is a interstellar phenomenon this morning on the roof while I was taking Pancake out to walk. I saw a meteor, perhaps. Something exploded in the sky. My first instinct was to duck for cover because I was pretty sure I witnessed the beginning of the end of the world. But alas, here we are. I survived.
Speaking of surviving, I think our listeners would like to know if you're out of your funk yet.
I've started to kick out. I've turned the corner.
That's great.
We had a few rough patches this week, full disclosure.
You guys, it's been a rough one.
It was
we're back.
rough. We
we're getting there.
powered through. Put it this way. An apology card was purchased on my behalf. It was that kind of week.
You guys, it's been a long few weeks over here.
There's a lot happening.
We're just trying to push through, you know?
We're pushing through. We're powering through despite our sharp tongues and my mental funk, which
Our sharp tongues?
my sharp tongue in particular, maybe more so than yours.
I have a pretty dull tongue, I would think. I mean, you would know, right? I mean, not as of late, but...
No, I wouldn't. I not lately, not at all. I think that really needs to happen to put us back on the proper track. But I do a pretty good job of getting in my own way.
We're getting there.
Luckily, to this point, over the past several weeks, as difficult as it has been, there have been 0 deal breakers. We have not decided to blow everything up completely yet.
Not yet.
Yet being the operative word.
Yes.
However, it gave you the content for this week's show.
Yes.
This is a full Leah production.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. But, you know, over the last few weeks, obviously, you know, like Matt said, we've been kind of going through it. And, you know, sometimes there's some things you realize about your partner when they're not at their best. And, you know, sometimes it's like, oh, is that a deal breaker for me? The way, like, for example, the way you fight to a lot of people would be a deal breaker because you fight dirty.
Right.
And you hit below the belt.
Yep.
You're mean.
I can be.
Yes. When you are in your...
When I'm angry.
Yes.
When I'm seeing red.
Yes.
Yes.
And that...
I spew all of the vitriol.
Yes. That could be a deal breaker for a lot of people because it's like, I get we all say things we don't mean sometimes, but me personally, when you piss me off, I just tell you, you're pissing me off when you're doing this, that, whatever. I'm not telling you piss me off and then go into all of these things about you that I hate, that I just don't like, even though it's something that I probably do like, but I'm just now ripping into you because I'm mad and making these things up and purposely trying to hurt your feelings. Deal breaker. Not for me, clearly, because I'm still with you. But like I said, a lot of people could be, a deal breaker. But today we're going to get into so I did a lot of research because, I've had a lot of time on my hands about what couples, certain things that couples go through that are deal breakers. And when you first start dating someone, like your hard no, something that you will not budge on, something that you feel very strongly about. And there are quite a few commonalities between all these lists that I've researched. So we're going to go through a bunch of them here.
Okay. Can I start off by asking you initially, off the top of your head, deal breakers? Take me out of the equation, just as a general single life Leah best case scenario relationship deal breakers.
I think a deal breaker, but here's the thing. So I had a lot of deal breakers, but you are the exception to a lot of these, which is weird.
World champion of love.
Because to me, my deal breakers would be, I want to have kids. I want to be with someone who is the same religion as me. And both of those things, you have kids, you're not the same religion as me, yet here we are. So I think those are things that I always thought would be deal breakers, but.
Well, we need to look, if there's got to be caveats by these, because I do have children. They are not yours,
right,
but they're in the equation.
Sure.
And I'm not opposed to children someday.
Yeah.
That's obviously a discussion for many days that we have seemingly regularly. The religion thing, I'm just not religious. That's just not my gig. I was raised in the church. I went to church. I'm familiar with it. I'm fascinated by religion, all religions. I think they're very interesting. I love the psychology behind them and what makes people tick, and that fascinates me. I just choose not to really subscribe to religion.
I grew up very Catholic, going to church, did all my sacraments, First Communion, the whole thing. So, and I was always raised, you find a Catholic boy and you live happily ever after. But I feel like the older I've gotten, I would consider myself religious, and I still, follow by my Catholic faith. However, I've become more, I think, spiritual than religious.
You went hard left and started dating a damn heathen.
So again, exception to the rule. I always thought that, that's what I would do, but I've made an exception. And I think it's also important to be open-minded. You can't be like, this is what I want and this is all I'm looking for. Like, I know there's women out there that have a checklist. He needs to do this, X, Y, Z. And if he doesn't have that, that. No, like, you have to be open-minded and realize that there are exceptions to the rules. And I'm sitting right here next to my exception.
I'm just a walking exception. I am one great big exception.
Let me ask you, what are some deal breakers that you initially, take me out of the equation?
Well, initially, now at this point in my life, my deal breakers are very different from what I would have said.
So give me an example before.
I was extremely picky. Back in my dating days, I just, anything could be a deal breaker for me.
For example?
Chewing with your mouth open. Your laugh, if you had an annoying laugh.
God.
Oh yeah, it didn't matter to me, but I was also in a different headspace.
Right, you're young.
I was looking to not build a life. I just kind of wanted to.
You're being a little vain.
I wanted to F. Yeah. Is what I wanted to do.
I mean, who didn't?
I wanted to sow my wild oats.
Right. So nowadays,
priority one, my kids.
Sure.
And luckily, you and my children get along swimmingly after all this time. That would be my number one, and maybe only outright off the top of my head. I can tell you, first date, no matter what, if you and my kids don't mesh, this ain't going to work. I'm a little bit more tolerant now after having been, married for 10 years and experiencing life, and values change and views on things change. That to me is the only hard deal breaker.
And speaking of exceptions to the rules, you're dating someone who chews with their mouth open and has an annoying laugh.
You don't.
So here we are.
You don't chew with your mouth open. Are you kidding me? We would never been sitting here having this conversation. That might still be a deal breaker.
I'm just kidding.
How gross.
Yeah, that is disgusting.
So in your research, Dr. Leah, what else did you find that drives that fatal wedge in
So, to be perfectly honest, I really wanted today's discussion to be solely about sense of humor. That was my original idea because I feel like for me, I guess that is, I forgot to say that. That is one of my number one deal breakers. You have to have a fucking sense of humor. I love to laugh. I love to be silly. I don't like to take life too seriously. I love the quote, if you can make a girl laugh, you can make her do anything. And I stand by that. If you aren't funny, if you don't make me laugh, I can't be with you. And I'm not going to lie. I'm about to tell you something. When we first started dating, I'm like, I don't know if he's funny. Like, I don't know if he has a sense of humor because your sense of humor is so different. And I feel like now that I've gotten to know you, obviously, like, I'm obsessed with your sense of humor. You make me laugh on a daily basis. When we first started talking, I was like, oh man, like, because you're so, like, sort of reserved and just kind of like chill and cool. You don't come outright with you're sarcastic, but you're not silly or funny from the beginning. I don't am I burying myself here?
No. I'm fascinated by this.
Do you agree?
I think my sense of humor is an acquired taste.
Sure.
And I feel as though people that have a similar sense of humor to me get it
yeah.
very easily, and I am heavy on the sarcasm.
But you're not silly, and to me, I feel like I'm a silly person.
But I don't find that kind of humor. That's not my milieu. That's not what I'm into. I don't like silly slapstick comedy. I like more dry, cerebral, dark humor. I like absurd,
self-deprecating.
Yes, very, very like absurd. Sometimes I'll say stuff that is just ridiculous because no one should say that.
Right.
And you'll say it just because it's like almost shock value.
Yeah.
I always get a kick out of that. But in this day and age, you got to be really careful about how shocking you get, particularly when you're on television for hours at a time, because chances are it's going to offend somebody.
Yeah, you can't say anything anymore without someone getting offended.
There is no job in the world right now that has to be tougher than being a stand-up comic.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
I'm such a huge fan. You and I are both fans of stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Different acts, different comics,
sure,
because of different styles and whatnot. But I think, to me, that's the most intimidating job in entertainment. But if you're good, man, there's nothing better. But nowadays, you gotta watch every syllable that comes out of your mouth. Like, half the time when we have this show get edited, if it's kind of a little hairy,
like, oh, should I have said that? It was just a joke, but
right.
People are gonna take it out of context, like, which a lot of you have, especially with the golden fucking shower comment. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Right.
Made a little joke, and now everyone is tagging me in these, memes of pee jokes. It's like so stupid. Because it's always, they come after me. They just do. People love to have drama. So, okay, here, do you think I'm funny?
I do think you're funny.
Because we have different senses of humor.
I agree. And I think I find humor in what you find funny, but it's you that makes me laugh. If you are watching something or you react to certain things a certain way, I find that highly entertaining, even if what you're reacting to doesn't do it for me.
Okay.
A lot of times the funniest things that you do are completely unintentional or the opposite of what you're going for.
What?
You'll say something or do something trying to be one way, and it turns just out hilarious.
Like what?
It happened when we were walking to the elevator last night. You made a joke. I can't remember what it was. It's something to do with a dog. And you made a horrible, horrible pun or joke, and it was awful. But it made me laugh because it was so bad. It was uncomfortable.
So that is not a good thing.
Yes, it is.
That doesn't make me feel good.
I find you highly entertaining when you do stuff like that. I want to be funny,
like actual intentional
things
that I'm saying.
But your sense of humor to me is, I don't think, I'm trying to find a right word here. I'm trying to dance around this. I don't want to say the word cheesy.
It is cheesy.
But you're silly, goofy, stick your tongue out in photos, like ridiculous humor.
Yeah.
And you doing that makes me laugh.
Okay, well that makes me feel good.
But it's not the same as like had you told a joke. I probably laugh more at you when your jokes don't land.
So basically you're laughing at me, not with me.
Pretty
is what
much.
You're trying
Pretty
to
much
say.
is what I'm getting at.
So I'm not funny, haha. I'm funny like you're a an idiot funny.
No. It's adorable sometimes.
Oh, well, that's cool. All right.
But you are. You make me laugh a lot. You make me laugh very much, and you do not have an annoying laugh, despite you always bringing that up. I love your laugh.
That was something that I feel when we first started dating. I'm like, I can't show this side of me because I know it's not for everyone. I know I can be obnoxious and stupid and ridiculous. So when we first started dating, I was like, I can't let him see this side of me. And I didn't think I would ever be able to sing show tunes on the top of my lungs. And is that the right way of saying it?
Yeah.
Top of my lungs. Top of my lungs to you, because I thought you would find me so annoying. I mean, I know you find me annoying.
I do find it annoying, but it's funny because it's so absurd.
Okay. Well,
I appreciate it. I don't laugh for the same reasons, but I laugh at the same time.
Well, I'll take what I can get. Speaking of self-deprecation, I feel
I'm
like
a pro at that.
Yes, that's something that you do. You've done the last few days, especially because you wrote me the apology card. I'm not going to say you f***ed up because you didn't it is what it is.
I just said some things that I shouldn't have in the moment.
Right. And then the things that you said, you now joke around about 10 hours later.
Right, because comedy and laughter to me has always been like a self-defense mechanism, whereas I feel like if you can joke about anything, you take away its power. And I think a lot of comics have gone on the record and said this, and that's why you always hear about comics suffering depression. You got like Robin Williams or all these greats, that comedy comes from a place of pain in a lot of instances. I'm not saying that I've got this great pain that I deal with, but it's always kind of been a safety net for me, where if I can make you laugh, I disarm you.
Right.
No matter what the circumstance might be. So, for example, we have an argument 2 nights ago. Yesterday, I spent most of the day just trying to make up for it, make sure we're back on the same page, get myself out of the doghouse. At least I got my first 2 front paws out. Maybe one paw. Regardless, I spent most of the day yesterday making jokes about the issue from the night before.
And in my head, I'm sitting there like, too soon. The things you said, you can't joke about yet. Maybe in like a month, I can be like, hey, remember when you said that f***ed up thing? And you can be like, yeah, ha, ha, ha. But to me, a little too soon.
Okay, so I need to read the room a little
Read the
better.
room.
I'm of the mindset, hey, if something makes you uncomfortable or weirds you out, you joke about it, and it's like, okay, hey, we're cool again.
I do that too. I feel like even whether it's a friend or my sister or family, and you have an argument or some sort of falling out, and then immediately I'm trying to make them laugh because I'm like, well, if they're mad at me, if I can make them laugh, then they still like me.
I think I get that from my dad, and it always to this day resonates with me. When I was younger or growing up, even up to high school, my dad would do this thing where he would correct me or he would deny whatever I was requesting or giving me something negative in my perception. And my dad would just stare at me. And he would just keep staring at me. Like eyebrows up, but just would not take his eyes off of me. And you know how you can feel when somebody's staring at you.
Yeah.
And I would be as angry or angsty or whatever I was feeling at the moment. And I was like, damn it, Dad, I hate you. You suck. And I could just feel him staring at me. And I couldn't help but laugh. He would just stare at me until I broke.
Right.
And I feel like I do that to my kids, too.
Yeah.
If I give them bad news or tell them something they don't want to hear and they're pouting or morose for whatever reason, to just stare at them, and I swear to God, it works like a charm.
Yeah.
And I think subconsciously that's where I get that mindset where if I can make you laugh, even if I just f***ed up real bad, it kind of takes the edge off a little bit.
Right. Well, moving on here from humor. I feel like we could talk about humor all day.
We can. Well, I mean, this was your original intention, but I like broadening the subject.
Right.
I like not limiting or handcuffing ourselves to one subject.
Right.
I like to be free form, bear with us.
Right.
Really explore the space.
Let's just explore the space, if you will. So another deal breaker are values. Your integrity, your ambition, the way you love your family. Because let's face it, at the end of the day, looks fade. The spark may fade. The spark might not be there forever. I mean, I hope we have our spark forever.
Are you
I don't want to lose
implying
our
that
spark.
I might not always be this handsome?
you'll always
Deal
be
breaker.
handsome to me.
Deal breaker.
You'll always be handsome to me.
Done.
But your core values at the end of the day is family important to you? You know, is your word important to you? Like, are you a good person? Those are the things that matter. Doesn't matter if someone's fucking hot or if they sweep you off your feet. If they're a shitty person, that's not gonna last.
Right. But to your point earlier about how we differ from labeling religion from individual perspectives, I think the core values of basically every religion are the same.
Yeah, be a good person.
Be a good person. Don't harm others. Try to be honest. Try to stick to your word. I mean, no matter what religion you pull, the basis is be a good person.
Right.
Whether you serve one God or another, the service is all usually the same. So that's why I feel like, and this is coming from a not devoutly religious family, but again, I grew up going to church. I went to church till I was in probably middle school or high school, did catechism and all that stuff.
Catechism.
It's a fun word, right?
Catechism.
Okay, like catechism.
Catechism. That's hilarious.
I don't
It sounds
know.
like cute when you say it.
Okay.
I go to catechism.
Well, I went regardless, and
We called it CCD.
yeah,
Did you call it that?
I wasn't Catholic. I didn't go to Catholic church.
Oh, yeah, duh.
So we had different terms for things. But yeah, I think the overarching theme there, as far as values and morals, you can't stray too far from your own path to find a partner.
Sure.
There are some things that are so markedly different about other people that it is endearing to you and it makes you want to learn. And I feel like bringing something totally different into the fray can make you a better person and make for a healthier relationship, because as we have been discussing, you and I vary on a lot of different things.
Right.
And I've said a million times in the past, one of my biggest pet peeves is dating someone who slowly turns into me.
Yeah.
I need balance. I want a yang to my yin. I don't want the same
Yeah.
values and the same everything all the time.
But the core values should always be parallel, I feel. Like
Agreed.
And I think at the end of the day, when it all boils down to it, we have the same sort of core values.
Sure.
And that is important.
Yes.
And
Now, are there any core values that you would say are not deal breakers, just might be intimidating to you or very different, but you might actually have a little wiggle room? Or is that kind of like, no, these three things are non-negotiable?
I don't really know what other sort of values that there would be that I would have wiggle room. Like, for example, I don't know what you mean.
I mean, I don't really have a point, or there was no answer I was looking for. I was just kind of playing devil's advocate. Has there ever been an instance where you were on the total opposite side of the page from your partner on any of these quote unquote core values?
I think
Religion, yes, that's
right.
But again, if you put the name religion on it versus core values, they're different.
Yeah.
Depending on what church you go to, you might have a different religion, but you're still on the same page.
I don't think there's anything I can think of as far as core values. There are other things I never thought I would bend or break on in relationships that I have because of the partner I was with. But as far as core values go, I don't think so.
No wiggle room.
But sort of piggybacking off of that, it might be a little bit different, but to me, a huge deal breaker are manners.
Oh,
when
yes.
you're out with somebody and they're rude to the wait staff, or they're rude to the janitor, or they're rude to someone who they would think is seemingly below them, that I'm out.
Agreed.
100%. I don't care how amazing you are to me. I don't care how perfect you could be. If you're rude no, I'm done. I want nothing to do with you.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
That to me is a huge deal breaker. Even like some friends that I've been out with and they're rude, I'm like, oh God, like it makes me look at them in such a different light, and I judge them off of that.
I know that you and I have had this point of contention at times in the past, not because I am a rude person. I like to think I'm actually kind of go
polite.
out of my way to be polite
Yeah.
to servers and anybody that I might deal with on a daily basis. But there's the occasional instance, like in a hotel lobby at 2:00 in the morning when someone can't find my reservation.
Yeah, that to me,
and tells me that there's just nothing she can do.
that drives me nuts, because I get it. They might not be as intelligent as you would like them to be, and they can't figure it out. And they might not say things the way you want them to say them, but you get rude. Like, I'll never forget, we were in Worcester Remember we were at that
Yeah,
hotel
yeah.
and the girl just couldn't find I just hit the mic. Couldn't find the reservation. And you were like, well, and you were blowing up on her. And I was like, babe, like, let's chill. Regardless, she's going to find it. And you're like, it's right here. It's right here on my phone. Okay. So guess what? They're going to find a room.
But
no need to be
in my
a dick.
defense, she straight up said there was nothing she could do. And I went, that's impossible. This is a hotel. We stay in these every week. And then I went full Karen, and I wanted to speak to the manager.
Karen. But sometimes you do have to ask to speak to the manager.
And did a problem get solved?
And the
Absolutely.
manager came, fixed it, we're good.
Manager did exactly what I was telling the girl to do.
Well, that's, okay, that's one of your things that I deal with, that you think you're the smartest guy in every room. You think you're smarter than everyone else. Or you, quote unquote, know you're smarter than everybody else. So that to me drives me nuts. It doesn't matter how fucking smart you are. You don't have to let everyone know that, or like treat people like they're not as smart as you.
I only treat stupid people like they're not as smart as me.
Well, everyone compared to you is stupid.
Well,
am I right?
I don't know.
Let's see here. What about money? That is like
That's a huge one.
Money, religion, politics, like,
yeah, we get a ton of emails about the money subject and like how we should have an episode regarding financial issues, because finances kill relationships probably more so than anything else in the world.
Right.
Luckily, knock on wood, you and I haven't had any issues as far as that goes. But full disclosure, we keep it pretty separately. We handle each other. We share what we can and what we're aware of, and kind of leave each other to our own devices.
And I think that is honestly the key. I'm not saying if you needed something, I wouldn't help you out with it, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. But I feel like if you keep you're both earning your money. I could see if maybe I'm a stay-at-home mom and you're the one making the money, or vice versa, then it's a different situation. But if you both are working and you're both making money, to me, you keep that shit separate. Like, and everyone has their way of doing things. So I would never tell anyone that what they're doing is wrong. But then there's no point of contention. There's no point of being like, well, I earn this and why can't I buy that? If I were going to make a big purchase, I would tell you, but I'm not going to say, hey, babe, I think I might buy a car. And you're going to say, no, that's going to make me want to go buy it even more.
Right.
Because it's money that I've earned. And I think, to me, that is the biggest thing. Because imagine if I'm just going and spending your money. I'm like, oh, and I have this new bag and I bought myself some shoes. And you'd be like, well, what the
Yeah, I know that scenario quite well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's, at least for us, keeping things mostly separate, aside from the majors, the rent and whatnot,
right,
has worked very well. But that's a case by case basis.
And who knows what happens when we get married, or we want to buy a home, or things in our future. We don't know. But for right now, this is what works best for us.
Right,
and luckily we're both making money. If it wasn't the case, then we'd have to readdress the issue and figure out the best way to go about it.
I just think the most important thing is like realizing you're on the same team, and when you can work things out together, it's very beneficial than getting into a pissing contest about who spent what on which bill. And I get it, it happens. I've been in that situation too. I've done that not even with romantic partners, but roommates. And nothing will come between friends or romance or anything faster than the almighty dollar.
Yeah.
So that's not even something I would say we could do an episode on. Excuse me. Not even something I would say we can do an episode on, at least at this juncture, just because it's constantly changing and evolving, and everybody's circumstance is so different.
Well,
we would be remiss to just say, hey, here's this blanket statement, here's how you fix and handle that, because no two people's situation is the same.
So let me ask you the oldest question in the book here. What happens when you go on your first date? Should the guy pick up the bill?
I think so.
Or does the girl pick up the bill because it's 2020?
Well, so here's where I can be a little bit old-fashioned in that, and I'm not even entirely sure that this is the proper usage of the term and the phrase toxic masculinity, which is like only guys can do this thing. I think I'm beyond that. Traditionally speaking, I think the guy should pay. I am aware that you make a great living, and I am not offended when you pick up the bill, and I appreciate it because it's 2020 and we're both sharing responsibilities. But somewhere inside me, it is still unfamiliar, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
It's not bad. I'm not like, oh, what she thinks she's doing? She's trying to make me look bad. It's just I've always grown up knowing a certain way, and
Right.
I've just think, yeah, you're the man. You should take care of X responsibility. There's maybe this isn't the best use of the term gender roles, but there are things that I just feel guys should do. That doesn't mean women can't,
Right.
or less than, or it's a special occasion because. But I think initially first date, I don't think I've never not paid on the first several dates.
I think for the man to at least reach for his wallet and actually go for it, not do the old pretend I'm going to reach for it, like actually reach for your wallet. To me, that is cool. Like just the act. Okay, he's not expecting me to pay. I mean, full disclosure, when I had gone on some dates, that I was single for the first time in my life, and I started going on a few dates, and I'm making great money, so I wasn't expecting the man to pick up the bill. But at the same time, I'm like, because they know what I do, are they expecting me, because I had a better job than them, to pick up the bill? And it was weird. A lot of times I felt this need to be like, well, I don't want them to think I'm just here for them to pay for something, because I could take care of myself. So it was like a lot of times I paid for it because I felt weird. And that, to me, I look back, I'm like, ew, who is that bag I was with that wouldn't even pick up the damn bill? That is embarrassing.
So would that be a deal breaker for you
Yes.
as a woman if the guy doesn't pay on the first, or at least
At
offer
least
to pay?
offer to pay. Don't expect me to pay.
Sure. I don't know that I've ever been in a situation or even really know anybody. To me, maybe it's just a generational gap, or that's like how things were up until recently. I've never once expected anything other than.
I
And-
feel like I'm with you as well. I'm old school. Regardless, I have a good job. I make good money. I feel like I'm very old school with that when it comes to, it's just a gentlemanly thing to do. At least on the first date. I'm not expecting you to pay my bills and buy me nice things, but for the first date, it's just sort of like traditional.
This is going to get sort of off topic, but I feel like this is an appropriate time to bring it up. Guys, if you are listening to this, chivalry is not dead.
Yes. Ugh.
Be a goddamn gentleman. It counts.
That's something I love so much about you, is you are a gentleman. You always offer, when we're walking, you make me walk in front of you. I didn't know it was a thing that the guy should be walking on the outside of the sidewalk.
Now, full disclosure on this one, this is something that was told to me a long time ago. I don't know if it's true. I've never bothered to research it or look it up. But allegedly, when, and I don't know if this was a regional thing or in a city, but if a guy was walking on the inside and the woman was walking on the outside, I guess that was some sort of signal in the pimp prostitute world, where you only left the woman to the outside if she was available. And I don't know if that was just as far as prostitution goes, or widespread, like maybe older than I even realized. But for some reason I heard that once, and it's always stuck with me. So it may not even be a thing,
Right.
but to me it's a thing, and I don't think there's anything negative about it. It's more
Right.
like a protective.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, a car's gonna jump the curb. It's probably gonna hit me
Right.
first.
And you always do that. You always offer to hold my bags. You open the door for me. And yes, it's 2020. I'm a strong, independent woman, honey. But I also want to have a gentleman make me feel like, oh, a lady. I love that.
Yeah. So guys, all 6 of you that listen to this, be a goddamn gentleman. Your
girl
woman will likely appreciate it.
Wants to be a lady on the streets and a freak in the sheets.
What's the dude equivalent of that?
A gentleman
In
on
the streets.
A gentleman. Let me think here.
I stumped
can't
you.
think,
We're
yeah.
not getting anywhere. But yeah, okay, sorry. Rant over. I just
Rant
wanted
over.
to pass that on because I feel like it's a lost art.
We have a few more here. So what about when it comes to like work ethic? If someone do they have a hobby? Do they have anything that they're genuinely interested in outside of just the relationship? Are they passionate? Do they have goals? What are they doing with their life? Or are they just sitting at home with their hand in their pants like Al Bundy?
I mean, I've been aspiring to Al Bundy's level
he has
of
goals.
right.
But at the same time, you want to be with someone that shares like a work ethic, someone who works hard. You don't want to be the only one in the relationship busting your ass while the other person is just sort of like floating by.
And I think of all the things that bring us together and that allow us to understand one another, as bad as I've always been against dating somebody that I worked with.
Yes.
It's never been something I've done it before, but never anything I've been successful with, because usually you need an escape from work. However, our careers are such that it's so unique and so demanding and so unlike anything else on the planet Earth that to be able to share that mindset with you helps me a lot, because it's no longer me trying to explain. Like, I still have a hard time explaining to my children why I can't be with them all the time just because my work schedule is demanding.
Or things come up last minute, like, oh, I was supposed to be with you this weekend, but guess what? Now they booked me on this. And that is hard to explain. And I feel like if you had a partner that, you know, when we're together, we have plans. We were going to go here or we're going to go there. And then all of a sudden now this work thing comes up. It's not like, well, you. You always do this. No, it's like, I understand.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah, we get it. It's not like the cliche in all the romantic comedies where the guy's like secretly living a double life at the office, but not really at the office.
Right.
Like, it's like, oh, okay. There's no need for suspicion on that point, because it's like, we get it. It's a constantly changing schedule, and business and the entertainment business as a whole is unpredictable and unusual.
And being in this job, we know what it takes, the drive and the hard work that it takes. No one in this business that we're in is a lazy piece of shit. Like, you have to work hard. You have to be willing to not sleep. You have to be willing to put in the time. And I feel like we share that. We know what it's like to have to hustle.
Right. And conversely, that was one of the things that was such a stark contrast for me when you and I started dating, is in the small windows we have where we're not working, I was still wired so tight and constantly have to be doing something. I could not, under any circumstance, sit at home and just watch TV.
Right.
I could do it for like an hour here and there, but I always had to be somewhere. I always wanted to be doing something, feeling productive. And you were the one that kind of taught me it's okay to not do anything sometimes. And now I feel like I'm getting a little too proficient at that, where I'm like, yeah, you know what? I did something yesterday. I think I'm just going to hang out today and not do anything.
But it is important.
But even in my quote unquote laziness, like, we're doing stuff.
Always doing
it's not like just sitting on the couch like a bump on the log.
Yeah.
Being lazy pieces of garbage.
And I like that we share that together. I like that we both are motivated and work hard. I couldn't be with a lazy piece of shit.
That's the sweetest thing you've ever said about me, baby.
Speaking of a lazy piece of shit, I think our last topic here is your overall view on health and healthy living, right? Some people are obsessed, like me.
I can see your eyes lighting up as you say this, because you're about to bring down the thunder on me.
I mean, it's something I'm willing to bend on. Obviously, I think I'm a very health conscious person. I eat healthy, I work out, maybe a little too much sometimes. I sometimes need someone to just be like, look, it's okay to eat a cheeseburger and you're not going to feel bad. And a lot of times I'm okay with it, but sometimes I'm so obsessive, and I think we balance each other out on that. You don't work out. You used to for your job, but it's not something you love to do.
I've never liked working out. The only reason I ever worked out was for my chosen profession, in which it was a necessary evil.
Right.
If I was going to do that, I had to look a certain way. And I did, and I was in great shape, but I never enjoyed it. I was never one of these people, because I used to hear people all the time say, you don't get that high, that pump feeling afterwards where you just feel awesome. No, I didn't get that. I did it. I knew what I had to do. I did it as part of my job. Now that I am not required to do that, I have no interest in, like, that's not to say that I've let myself get like disgustingly out of shape. Like, I'm not going to keel over. I am still active. We do what little fitness related stuff I do, such as riding my bike.
Right. But I'm okay. Like, I'm not trying to sit here like, babe, why don't you do this? Or like, you do you. If that's what you like, that's fine.
My favorite thing about you and your health obsession is that you're an amazing healthy cook, which is a new frontier for me, because I've always kind of operated under it's either healthy or it's delicious. And I spent too many times going, why am I eating dry chicken again? And I don't ever want to eat a grain of rice as long as I live. And this is terrible. Get this away from me.
Right.
And now you've kind of discovered a great little happy medium. So I'm happy to eat healthy.
As long as it's good.
As long as it's tasty.
Yeah.
And you've gotten really good. And I mean, granted, it's 2020. They have delicious, healthy food now. You find these places, suggest them to me, and I go, oh, okay. And more often than not, I'm okay with it.
Right.
May not be my choice, but I can defer to you, and as I often do because you're so insanely picky.
But I love that. That's another thing I love about you is you are open to it. You're not like, oh, that's healthy, I'm not eating it. You're open to trying new things. You're open to looking at things from my perspective. And conversely, once in a while, yes, do we, like on Monday, we went and got beer and wings. Like that was the thing that we had talked about doing. And it can't be so hardcore all the time. It can't just be, oh, this is the way I like to do things and that's it. I have to also be compromising and know what things you enjoy. I mean, does the girl love a good beer and some wings? 100%. Watch some football. It's the best. So you have to have a healthy balance between the two.
Right. Like we watched the presidential debate the other night, and I needed a pizza for America. So I ordered one at 9:30 at night.
You needed a lot more than a damn pizza to get through that debate. That's for damn sure.
But
Let's
I got
not
my
get
pizza,
into it.
got my brownies. No, we're not bringing the politics today. But yeah, so those are some deal breakers for many couples.
And I think each one of those we could dive into a whole hell of a lot deeper and get into more detail. That's just, I think, the surface level of all of them. But
sure. So maybe we give the listeners some assignments, some active listening work.
That's annoying. I don't want to listen to a podcast and have homework.
It's not like homework. It's just, it helps.
Yeah.
I want to know if there was something that we discussed
or touched
that
on.
We need to dive deeper into.
Yeah.
Do you agree? Do you vehemently disagree? We're doing this with you guys, for you guys, by you guys.
And we can only go off of our own experiences, and maybe
which are not normal, by the way.
Right. Yeah, we don't live a normal life.
Yeah, there's very little. Our normalcy is usually striving to achieve normalcy.
And there's nothing about us. There's so many different factors. Our job, the fact that you're divorced, you have kids, I live here in this there's so many different outside factors that affect our relationship. We're not normal at all. And every other couple, they have different outside
influences.
Thank you. That affect their relationships. So everyone is different, but let us know if you guys completely disagree or you agree with any of the things we said.
I want to know some unique deal breakers as well.
Ooh, yeah.
I want to know if somebody has experienced something that is so off the wall that is like, this happened and I called it quits right then and there. Because I'm sure there are probably some wild ones.
Right. And I'm sure there are people that have put up with certain things that they thought were deal breakers and they decided to keep up with it. Did it work? Or do you regret actually dealing with it and now you're stuck? I want to know. I think that's very interesting and I'm intrigued.
Right. I never thought I could successfully be with somebody who has a crippling porn addiction like Leah.
Babe.
That was a joke. Kidding, everybody. But send us your thoughts at the official Bear With Us mailbag, bearwithusPod@gmail.com, which is where we're about to head.
Speaking of the mailbag. Here's the mail, it never fails. It makes me want to wiggle my tail. It makes me... Wait, I messed it up.
Did you really miss the word wag the tail?
I wanted
wiggle
to say
the
wiggle.
Tail?
I was just trying to be a little innovative. Okay. Makes me want to wiggle my tail. When it comes, I want to, mail. Okay.
I don't know how it gets weirder every week.
I gotta keep it interesting, honey. Question number 1, honey. Hi, my name is Jane Doe, and I have been a huge fan of the podcast. I just want to thank you for making me laugh every week. You're welcome. I currently live with my boyfriend and 2 roommates. Me and my roommate were talking the other night, and she brought up how a man should propose to you in a year and a half. She then proceeded to tell me that I couldn't wait like how you are for your man to pop the question. It's so stupid. It made me feel like crap because me and my boyfriend have been dating for almost 3 years. My question is, when should a man pop the question to his significant other? Should there be a time frame for this type of event?
Can I take this one?
Sure.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't think there needs to be a timeline as long as things are progressing or the status quo is comfortable for both. That's not to say it should go on indefinitely, but every circumstance and every situation is different.
Sure. I don't think there's a timeline. Like Matt said, every relationship is different. I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it thing, because if it's something you want, if you want to get married, I think maybe you just have a discussion. Maybe you can talk about it. Do you see this in our future, babe, or no?
Sure.
Sort of thing.
And to that point, because we had a question similar to this a few weeks ago about putting a ultimatum down.
Yeah.
If you get to the point where there's an ultimatum, just
Don't be in
just
that
go.
relationship.
It's not, that is not going to, it should not make or break your relationship. A ring or a promise or anything of that nature should not be what your relationship is based off of. If you get to the point where you feel it's time to take that step, awesome. If you don't just dive right into it.
Just because your friends are getting married or your friend tells you need to get married doesn't mean you have to. If it's something you don't want to do, to Matt's point, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sure. But if it's something you really feel like you want to do, again, talking about these topics we were even discussing on the podcast this week, maybe you have different views. Maybe you want to get married and maybe your partner doesn't. Maybe that is a deal breaker. And you just need to have a discussion about it. You can't just sit there and be like, well, it's been 3 years. Is he going to do it sometime soon? You're in a mature relationship. Have a discussion. Talk about it.
Right. As long as it's progressing, because there's always extenuating circumstances, myself included. I'm divorced, and anybody who has been through it that's listening to this knows it is a process. It takes time to get back to normal. Had Leah and I just met and I didn't have a wife and kids, who knows what the circumstance would be. But you have to take it on a case-by-case basis.
Right. Hi, guys. I love the podcast. Oh, question number 2, honey.
Oh, I thought we lucked out and you just gave up on that.
Hi, guys. I love the podcast. You're both hilarious, but more so Leah, in your unique ways.
That's not written.
My question for you is, how do you maintain the spark and romance through the limitations of COVID? My boyfriend and I are used to constantly going to theme parks, bars, Broadway shows, concerts, and now it feels like every weekend when we see each other, it's the same cycle of staying in and watching movies. I love being a homebody at times, but I don't want to lose a spontaneity, spark, or romance. What you guys do to spice things up and keep the fire going strong? Thanks for any advice you have to share. I mean, it's difficult. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Are we in the middle of it? Are we at the end of it? Are we at the beginning of it? We don't know, because we don't know what the future holds. It's definitely difficult, especially if you don't even live together and you're just hanging out with each other on the weekends. I mean, yeah, that's hard. But I guess I don't even know. You can still go out for dinners. You can go out for
depending on where they are, because
that's
everywhere
true.
is different.
We're in Pennsylvania, and you can't do here. So
we had this conversation on the couch a few weeks ago when I was in the depths of my funk, because this is one of the things that's been weighing on me, is the inability to do normal things. And Leah asked me what my hobbies are, what do I enjoy doing in my downtime, and they almost all exclusively revolve around being around other people, whether it be sitting at a bar with my friends, listening to music, going to a concert, going to a baseball game, or in this case, football games. All that stuff that I enjoyed has been taken away. So I can relate to the frustration of it. As far as at home, is there something particular that we've done?
I think for a majority of the time, I feel like we have been in a rut for about a month now, but so I do think we could probably take some of our own advice here.
Absolutely.
But prior to being in this funk, we would go on a date every single week. We would plan it and be like, okay, this night, whether it was a Monday night or a Thursday night, we always had a plan. We're going to go to this new restaurant. We're going to try something new, get dressed up, and go out on a proper date. And we're here in Pennsylvania, and there's a lot of restrictions, and we can do it here. So I'm hoping, wherever it is that you live, you can do this as well. And there's a way to do it being smart and socially distant, and maybe you can go somewhere outside and not have to worry so much about the restrictions. But yeah, make it a point to go on a date. Maybe you plan the date one week and then the following week your boyfriend can plan the date, and you go somewhere, you get dressed up, and you have a proper date. To me, I feel like we always feel so connected, because a lot of times, like the other night we went out for beer and wings. That's not a date. Like if we go out, we're dressed up and we're like in it, you have conversation and you just feel like a little more like sexy and connected.
Yeah, I would agree.
Speaking of which, we have to do that.
Yeah, I know.
It's been a while. Question number 3. First of all, the subject of this email says, don't change the mailbag song. It's the best. And that is not a fabrication. It's right there.
Blocked. What's this person's name?
I'm not telling you.
Well, if you're responsible for this terrible headline, don't ever write us an email again.
Hi, Corey and Leah. Love y'all so much.
Who?
Oh, whoops. She got it wrong. Okay. Hi, Matt and Leah. Love y'all so much. My question is for both of you because I agree with both of y'all's opinion, but more so Leah's. I just got out of a bad relationship.
What is this? Why has everyone got a caveat and a sidebar?
I just got out of a bad relationship and I'm starting to date again. I have been seeing someone quite often, a few times a week since September. Any advice going into something new without letting my insecurities or baggage get in the way, or general tips? Thank y'all for the podcast and look forward to more. Why don't you start with that one?
You're making me start because you're hoping that I'm going to do what I'm about to do and say that I am guilty of this on many levels, particularly recently. We preach about it all the time, but it's much easier to preach than to actually practice. Leaving the past in the past. Not something that I would declare to be my wheelhouse. But the effort needs to be made, and I do work on it.
Yeah.
I think I've gotten better in the last year than I initially was.
Sure.
That's not to say I've completely absolved myself of drumming up old stuff that may or may not have any bearing on anything, because it's nice to just keep it in my back pocket for ammunition, because you know how I like to fight and load up my clip and unload.
Right. I think, I don't know, it's hard to say because I feel like, per what you're just saying right now, when you're first starting in a relationship, you and I, we're not fighting as much because it's rainbows and butterflies. So you don't necessarily...
The Zazazoo.
The Zazazoo, exactly. A little callback to, I forget what episode that was.
I'm like Captain Callback. Thank you very much.
More like Captain Morgan. Based off of Family Feud last night, remember?
So we were talking about senses of humor. That wasn't funny to anybody but me.
I know. Well, I'm just trying to make you laugh. I don't care if I make them laugh.
Oh, wow.
I have
So you
to
don't
live
care
with
about
you.
them.
I do love you guys. Anyway, when you're with someone in the beginning of a relationship, you're not necessarily fighting as much. Things that might piss you off, you kind of keep tucked away because you don't want to be a psychopath and be like, well, that thing you did piss me off. So now, like you said, you have gotten better in the last year. However, we do argue more now than we did in the beginning, because in the beginning, what is there to fight about? You're just starting to date somebody.
Maybe it's like subconsciously I've just been holding on to these things, waiting to use them in an argument.
Right.
So when any argument comes up, I'm like, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah. And I'm
You're
like,
baby, I just forgot to buy milk. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's because
you always forget to buy milk because you're lactose intolerant. I'm like, whoa, why are you so mad at me over my gut problem? Anyway. It's important not to let things from your past carry over. Are we all guilty of it? Yes. But at the same time, you can't take your past relationship problems out on your new partner. You just can't. And it's not fair to them. It's not fair to yourself. And are we all guilty of it? Yes. I don't know how to tell you not to do it because there's no rhyme or reason.
Yeah. There's not like a plan that you can lay out and go, okay, this is how you eliminate that. It takes work. And we say it all the time. You've always got to be constantly working on yourself in order to make your relationship stronger. No matter what the relationship is, you got to grow, you got to evolve. I think the biggest thing to be careful of while you're starting to date again is if you're more inclined to hang on to these things, especially if they're pretty fresh. Your ex-boyfriend or your ex-girlfriend did this particular thing to you. You have to be careful not to project it on your new partner. Again, I'm pontificating. I'm guilty of it.
Right.
We both are at times. But don't assume that because your last partner was this way, that everybody else is that way, or that this new guy is that way.
And also, like, how long has it been since you got out of your last relationship? Are you jumping from one relationship to the next? That's also not a smart thing to do. You have to spend some time self-reflecting after your last relationship before you get into the new one, so you're healed, so you are moving on from the things that they did to you that maybe scarred you. You have to spend some time and be okay with just yourself and the present to then now move on to your next relationship, so you're not carrying things over, because then there's this weird gray area where you're just jumping from one relationship to the next. Is there even a time in between where you weren't worrying about anything your significant other was doing? It almost seems like it blends into one long relationship. So then it's like you don't get any time to deal with the problems you were dealing with in the past. All of a sudden now it's the new problems of your present. And I don't know, that was a little deep right there, Leah.
It was very verbose. You're quite loquacious today. I don't really I'm not entirely sure what you just said, so I'm just going to double stamp it. I'm going to agree with
You
it.
can't triple stamp a double stamp.
I know what that was. I just couldn't think of the next line. No erases.
Anyway, so what do you think about today? I think everything was just dandy.
I think it's great. I think we hit on a lot of subjects.
There was a lot of information in this
There
episode.
was, which
And they kind
sometimes
of-
can be a bad thing.
Yeah, sorry if none of this made any sense to you guys.
It barely made sense to us, but it was fun.
I don't even know what I said. I don't even know where I am. I don't even know what's happening right now.
What do I do with my hands?
You shut your mouth when you're talking to me. Okay, guys, don't forget to refill the mailbag it's bearwithuspod@gmail.com. Go follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Reddit.
Are we on Reddit?
We're not on Reddit or Pinterest.
So why are you telling them to do that?
I don't know. I just thought it was funny. Again, not funny. I know.
Hey,
Sorry.
you know, it'd be a
not
great time.
sorry.
Let's set our listeners up for disappointment. Let's waste some of their time searching for something that doesn't exist.
Can you have a page on Reddit? Like, can it be like, bear with us Reddit? I don't even know what Reddit is.
It's great for porn.
What?
That's all I know.
You watch porn on Reddit?
I think everyone does. I think that's why Reddit exists.
I didn't know you could watch porn on Reddit.
Learn something new every day.
Interesting. I'm going to have something to do when I go home now. Bear with us.
Goodbye forever.